Communications is vital. If you stop and think about it on your projects or in general, you send off emails, nobody responds. You send off voicemails or text, nobody responds. Very frustrating. And in that team charter, with regards to your team, you can specify the response times on those types of things. But in general, it's very hard to do in a lot of cases. But communications in a project is extremely important. You want to make sure that you understand your stakeholders. This is part of your developing your stakeholder engagement plan, actually. But you want to make sure you understand your stakeholders with regards to communications and include it in this communications management plan. It's based on the stakeholder register. You'll go through and you'll communicate with each of your stakeholders, finding out what they want to hear, when they want to hear it, how often, and what format. Now, 90% of a project manager's time is spent communicating. 50% of that time is spent communicating with the team members. So when I'm talking about communicating, I'm not talking about just talking. I'm talking about listening, talking, working on reports, distributing reports. All these types of things would fall under communications. And your job as a project manager is not to sit behind a desk and update Microsoft Project. Your requirements are to be in the project, understand what's going on with the project, making sure that you're communicating with the stakeholders and that they're getting the information they want, and all those types of things. Now, this communications management plan would contain your glossary of terms. You know, take the acronym ECO. ECO. Now, to me as an engineer, ECO means engineering change order. But PMI says ECO is exam content outline. So you need to make sure that you're clarifying what these terms and these acronyms mean. The communication management plan says who, what format, and how often. That should come from the stakeholder. The stakeholder comes to you and they say, you're not telling me what I want to hear when I want to hear it. Okay. Where are you going to go to? You go to the communications management plan, you look at it, and you look at what's supposed to be communicated to that stakeholder. If the stakeholder is wanting something in addition, then you can say, okay, stakeholder, here's what you said you wanted to hear. Do you want me to change that so you can hear this? Okay. Or maybe you're not communicating what you're supposed to be communicating. But that's what the purpose of these plans are, to help you understand what's supposed to take place. And that way you can measure and see if that's what's happening. The communications management plan also provides instructions for other processes. So in communications, if you look at that 10 by 5 by 49, under communications, you'll see that we have two other processes. First one is planned communications, which is what we're talking about now. The next one is managed communications, and then there's one monitor communications. So that's what that's talking about. How do I manage communications? How do I monitor communication? Assumptions and constraints would be listed in the communication manual. Those assumptions and constraints that are relative to communication. We have tools that we use, such as 7-point method. 7-point method is a common tool that's used. I think we cover that in a later slide, but just in case we don't, it has the sender responsibilities and different things like that. And then it has the receiver responsibilities as also. MBWA, managed by walking around, observing, seeing what's going on. Active listening, you're focused on what that person is talking about. You're making sure that you're understanding it. You're giving some feedback indicating that you're understanding it. Verbal, nonverbal, paralingual. Now, my oldest daughter, my youngest daughter, was going to Anderson College. And I was traveling a lot to China then. And so my wife, I talked to her every day. And she said, Crystal's not responding to me. So she's not calling me back. She's not answering my calls. And Crystal was doing something. I don't remember what it was, but it wasn't something we wanted her to do. But anyway, I told Gail, I said, I'll call her. So I called her and I left her a message. Crystal, this is your dad. You call me back or I will be on that airplane and I will see you tomorrow. And Crystal's roommate was in there and she heard that. And so when Crystal came in, she told her, said, you better listen to this. Your dad called. So Crystal called me back that night, by the way. My night, her day, I guess. And so anyway, it was not so much what I said, but it was how I said it. And that can play a very important part of communications. That's why I hate email. I hate email because I can write something up and it's direct, it's to the point, and I might be in the best mood I've ever been in, you know. But Jerry may receive that email and he may think, what in the world's wrong with Roy? Why is he so grumpy today? You know, because people perceive it differently. And that's the same thing with this paralingual and verbal and nonverbal and so forth. So that's very important. That when we communicate in a method that is appropriate and that is easily understood. Now, another thing too along this line, and I focus on this a little bit because it's so important, is in China. Now, the last time I was there was in 2002, so it's been a while. But and I'm not knocking the Chinese people, but you know, if you were talking to someone from Hong Kong or Malaysia, they would understand what you were saying a whole lot easier. But the mainland folks in China did not have all that experience in communicating with us Americans, particularly a Southerner. And so what would happen is they would be nodding their heads and so forth that they understood what you were saying. But then you go back to question them a little bit on it, and you'd find out that they didn't understand the thing that you said. So you'd have to go back in and explain it in a different method. And so this verbal, nonverbal, paralingual, all these things are very important for us as project managers to make sure that people are understanding what we're trying to convey to them. Communications is vital to a project. It's vital. So here is an example plan on the top. And then there's an example of a plan on the bottom. And notice it says who, what, how, and when. Okay, so here is a 7-point method, sender responsibilities. So sender responsibilities are encode the message, select the communications methods, send the message, and confirm the message was received and understood. Receiver responsibilities, decode the message, confirm the message was received, and respond to the message. Now, in this communication cycle that we have here, you're always running into barriers. The barriers might be people's ability to focus. It might be the language barrier. It could be many things that would filter this information to where it was not getting through to the sender or the receiver very clear.